All right. Everybody, welcome, welcome. I am Tiana with TianaSmithCoaching.com and the Mastermind to Master Your Business Online podcast and TV series. I have such a special guest for you today. I'm joined by Jake Thompson, and he is the CEO of Compete Every Day and his own brand, Jake Thompson. So welcome, Jake. I'm so happy to have you.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I was telling him before we went live recording, his background is so super cool. And I love all the branding and all the subliminal messaging. It's not subliminal, it's just like branding, guerrilla marketing at its finest. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I did not wear my own brand, the Seven Figure Club today. I decided to represent your brand as well to support
Appreciate it.
you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite ones that we've got right now too, right? The importance of loving the work you do and not just the shiny outcome.
Exactly. I prepared a few questions just to be a prepared person, but I want to introduce you with your bio, but then, I have some questions, but then maybe we can just riff on whatever time. We have about 30 minutes, right? And just whatever flows will be what is meant to be is how
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So I will give you the official introduction. So Jake Thompson is an author, a speaker, and the chief encouragement officer at Compete Every Day. It's a brand he started in 2011 by first selling t-shirts out of the trunk of his car. I appreciate this, Jake, as I used to sell CDs in the music business everywhere I went. So I respect it. He works with organizations all over the world as a performance coach, teaching how they can cultivate that focus, habits, and culture to gain a competitive edge in their industry and personal lives. And it's through his decade plus entrepreneurial experience and research that he's discovered how leaders who harness a competitor's mindset can improve their consistency, influence, and impact. Those are three of my favorite words, Jake. This is why I'm a fan of yours. And he is also a graduate of both Texas Christian University and the University of Dallas. And he lives in my area. Actually, I didn't realize this when I contacted him with his wife, do you say Elena or Elena?
Yep, Elena. Yeah.
Elena. And their three dogs, Sugar, Biscuit, and Donut. So let's welcome Jake. If I had an applause machine, this is where I would press the button, or I'd be like, shh.
Okay, so I've got to know, where in DFW are you?
Yeah, I'm in Mansfield.
Okay, out west.
Yeah, I just moved here a year ago because I met my this man I fell in love with at the airport on a layover, and he's stationed in the Air Force here. So I was a California girl traveling to Nashville for business and music, and then but now I'm here.
Now you're here. Welcome to Texas. What a great place.
It's a great place. I'm falling in love with it. Definitely different, but just wonderful. So tell me about this brand, Compete Every Day, and your own brand. Like, how did this all begin?
Yeah. So it's a pretty funny story. I did not expect to go down this path whatsoever with it. I thought I was going to be Jerry Maguire, thought I was going to be the sports agent thing, chased after it for a few years. College and honestly, the reason I went to grad school. And about 2 weeks before I graduated with my master's, I was like, this is not what I want to do with the rest of my life. I had this picture in my head of what I thought it was, and reality was very different. Yeah. That was 2008, toward the end of 2008. So we remember we were in a recession, couldn't get a job. I laughed that Best Buy wouldn't even hire me to do holiday hours. And so I had to start freelancing. I built a small freelance consulting project or business, working with groups on graphic design, early stages, social media, a lot of just random, honestly, as I say, try to provide any solution they needed from a marketing standpoint. And I was really unfulfilled with the work. I enjoyed it. I made good money in terms of the people I met, but I just didn't love the work. And I started just tinkering with this idea of what would happen in our lives if we stopped settling. Because for me in that moment, I felt like I was settling for what was really comfortable instead of what I was capable of. And I started talking about this idea of how do people actually chase their potential? How do we discover what we're not necessarily meant to do, but truly have the potential to do? And the more I talked to people about it, I could see it resonate differently with everybody, but it all came back to just every day trying to get a little bit closer. And I thought, man,
Mhm.
that's right.
Yeah.
Every day we either have to stay the same, do
Mhm.
what's comfortable, or we have to compete with that feeling of comfort to get a little bit better. And
Yeah.
I just kind of ran with it and
Yeah.
spent 6 to 8 months trying to say, all right, how does this message work? Didn't know how to make it work, just tried anything and everything until my best friend, roommate at the time, was like, hey, you should look at apparel. He said, there's a company out of Boston called Life is Good. He said,
Okay.
funny
Yeah.
enough, their mascot's a stick figure guy named Jake. It's
Yeah.
like, why don't
Oh,
you just
funny.
try to sell shirts?
Yeah.
And so I did. So I put some money I'd set aside, put
Mhm.
it into a couple of bucks of t-shirts and tank tops that just said the CED, compete every day,
Yeah.
and started selling them out of back of my car behind a CrossFit gym to anybody that I could talk to, and
Nice.
just started talking more and more and more about it, and really was kind of all in on building an apparel brand that would encourage people to stop settling for what life gave them and show up and go after what they really wanted.
Yeah.
And after a handful of years with it, started getting opportunities to speak, which changed my whole focus and direction and opened some new doors that I ran with now. But that's really where it came from. It was kind of this call, I'll say more than anything, of I didn't want to see people settle, because I knew if you chose what's comfortable in the moment, you end up carrying the most regret long term.
That's so true. You said so many golden nuggets that I'm just like, there's so many lessons from what you're talking about. My audience is entrepreneurs and mastery, mindset, and business. Like, I think they're all interconnected. And you talked about you were doing these things to get by and you were making okay money, but it wasn't fulfilling to your soul and to your heart. Can I ask, like, what was
Yeah.
it in your heart? Because I think people they're seeking, like, what is my unique path? What would you say where you were able to be self-aware enough and to take a moment and to be open enough to like change course?
Yeah, so there's a couple things to that. I think the first was my focus was in the wrong place. When I was doing the kind of getting by, I was making good money, but
Yeah.
my focus was on me. How can I make the money? How can I buy the
Mhm.
toys? How can I have the fun? It was all
Mhm.
about kind of short-term pleasures that is almost like that hedonistic treadmill. Like you keep
Yeah.
chasing it, but it never fulfills you.
Right.
And when I started shifting my focus to others,
Mhm.
more opportunities open. And we see that in business, right? When it's, oh my God, I got to sell this, I got to sell this, I got to sell this. We
Mhm.
struggle to sell it. We have that smell of desperation, right?
Yeah.
Versus I have a solution. How can I help people? Who out
Yep.
there needs this? Where can I find people that need help? And
Yeah.
when we shift that perspective, it completely changes how we show up as well as how we come across. And so for
Yeah.
me, I likened it to I was doing a really good job of building myself a sandcastle
Yeah.
that when the tide comes in and my time is over, the sandcastle is gone. I've done nothing to outlive my life. And
Wow.
so I started shifting of how do I actually do something that helps and serves others in a way that goes well beyond just what I can do directly and how long I'm here on earth.
I have goosebumps on that, especially. So I went to church yesterday and they shared that, I don't know if you've heard of this, but Steven Spielberg, I guess, has a film thing right now that is going to train up new filmmakers for 1,000 years. And
Wow.
I know, right? 1,000 years. What, like, my mind was blown. This was just yesterday. And so when you're talking about right now, this whole thing that like creating something that can move beyond our lifetime and continue to have this ripple effect and shifting from not like, I need to make this sale for me, which is true. We all need to have sales. And when you want to live an abundant life, like you want to get what you want, right?
Yep.
But shifting it slightly to like, okay, well, what thing can I create that all these people over here who are kind of like me, maybe before, could use some inspiration, some leadership, some motivation, and I can help them make their goals happen. And then it starts to run itself instead of like us running ourselves into the ground.
100%. Yeah, it's that idea that it's okay to be paid and paid well
Yeah.
for doing good work that helps others, because that's ultimately it, right? People
Right.
pay for the size of the problems that we solve.
Yeah.
But the problem comes in when the focus is all about us versus all about helping others. And I think the most successful people I've ever seen, studied, met, connected with, they all started their entrepreneurial journey of, I have this problem. I
Yeah.
wonder if other people do too.
Yeah.
And once I've solved it, how can I either create this product, this service, this program that helps other people with the same thing I went through? And
Yeah.
so the focus is on them.
Yeah.
And then the money and the income, all of that is really just a byproduct of helping. And that is really what I think the Zig Ziglar quote was all about, of like, if you want to find success, go help other people be successful. And I
Yeah.
tell people that, like, we struggle of, oh, I got to find my purpose. I've got to have my purpose. And people are like, I don't know my purpose.
Yeah.
I'm like, go help someone else be
Yep.
successful. You'll figure yours out along the way when you take the focus off of you.
It's so true. I mean, I started at 11 years old as a musician. So I wanted to study flute. And when I was 16, somebody asked me to sing at an event, and I was super embarrassed as somebody had bailed out, but I'm always kind of like one of those people. It was a friend. Like, I guess I'll help a friend. I could carry a tune, but
Yep.
something shifted when I sang. And it was that people listened and it touched their heart. And so because I know you don't know as much about me as I like, because I sought you out and I was like, I've been following your stuff. But what shifted was this moment of singing for people and realizing that if you wrote a song for people and those lyrics, they could change lives. And the reason I'm just saying that is, like, it's interesting if you're on stage as a singer and you're just thinking about how you look or how you sound, even if you're awesome and you look great, you're not connecting with the audience the same way if you literally just get into the song and pour your heart into these lyrics. And then all of a sudden it transcends everything and people are connected and moved.
Well, I mean,
And-
that's the 100% the same way it is as a speaker.
Right.
Like, when I'm on stage, I'm in service to the audience.
Yeah.
And to your point, the singing, like when you said that, all that made me think of is like people that write songs, that things they're going through is a way to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
but connect, because everybody in the audience, we've been through those breakups.
Exactly.
We've been in those spots where you walk into the bar and you're like, oh, they're here. Like,
Yeah.
we sing a lot of those. I mean, one of my favorite, Garth Brooks, like, like Friends in Low Places,
Totally.
and,
Exactly.
a bunch of the songs that we all sing along to
Yeah.
are things that we're like, I've been in that position. And
Yeah.
that's why it connects with us. And
Yeah.
if, to your point, when we go about business and we start focusing on how do I just show up and serve other
Mhm.
people going through this, it changes everything for us.
Oh man, just more goosebumps. I'm so excited, Jake. You're just full of so much wisdom, and it's interesting. So this is an interesting thing. So for any of you who don't know this, I like to share like tidbits and not like act like we even talked before. So this is Jake and I's first time connecting. We just emailed. I've been on his newsletter list. I've bought his clothes. I reached out on Instagram, and he was so nice enough. And I do have an audience and stuff. So I pitched my main points of how it could also serve his brand. But the point is, like, when you're just getting to know somebody and it's like in a public way, like all of a sudden I'm having like all these epiphany moments as well. And so I would love to know, so you said you started as a potential sports agent. I'm assuming you're also an athlete because you're making an athletic brand. How do you connect these pieces? You've got the Jake Thompson brand, you've got the Compete Every Day, you're selling these things. Like, how do you bring this together?
Yeah, poorly, or lots of trials and error. And I say that solely because when I got asked to speak here and there in like 14, 15, 16, didn't think anything about it. Toward the end of 2016, 17 is when I was like, I'm going to invest in a coach and really figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time we were trying to do them as two separate businesses. So I was Compete Every Day was like, we're just apparel. And over here, it was my name / one of our taglines, life is worth competing for, because I was trying to connect them. Yeah. And what I found, plus throw in the podcast, which was the Better Than Yesterday podcast by Compete Every Day. Like, there was just so much all over the place.
Yeah.
And so the last few years, we really have worked to slowly move the audiences toward one, because what we found is, what are the struggles? People that buy the shirt don't necessarily care about the leadership development at the time of when we rolled it out, because for a lot of people, they just bought the shirt to work out in, to wear around, they're comfortable. Over time, as we've developed more and more content, it's been very intentional to say, how do we actually just align the type of people who care about getting better results for themselves or for those they lead?
Yeah.
And when we went into the work of saying, okay, everything's under Compete Every Day. Speaking, even though I have a standalone website for SEO and other things, it's all under Compete Every Day. My first book, Compete Every Day. So we did that intentionally after doing it wrong because it created confusion. And so the way I tell folks now is like, it's all there. And I would much rather be known as the Compete Every Day guy as a speaker than just, my own name, because there's something to that brand. And so that's it. It's just been a lot of work. It's been, I laughed the last, I'll say, especially 16, 18 months have been like a cat got like 10 balls of yarn and just played with them. And so you're little by little, like, okay, let's focus on this. Let's pull this thread out. And so that's kind of where we've gone with it. But now kind of how we manage it, because I couldn't manage it. It was trying to flip a switch back and forth between my voice, which is a little more, I say, encouraging / coach, versus Compete, which we wanted a little more of an edge to. And so now that we're kind of set with the right team and the right focus to have it all under one, I think it works way better for everybody.
Yeah, I love that. And, I really love it because I teach this to my clients because I teach them, how do you brand yourself in the marketplace and like have clarity around what it is you're offering, right? And many of us have different things. So I'm growing my 7-figure club brand, and I also have a freedom planner. I personally put like freedom planner over here, and then it's like Tiana Smith coaching, but it's all like together, right? But like freedom planner, I could also sell one day if I wanted to. So it's like having the clarity around what you're doing with each one. And I do think for like some people, it depends on what it is you're doing. But I think that because you had all these crossovers, Compete Every Day, your own brand, and a podcast, like putting it all under this one roof is so helpful.
Yeah, we look at it from a back end standpoint separately. Like we evaluate the e-commerce very different than the speaking from a financial perspective, in case, you ever want to raise funds to scale whatever. But for intents and purposes of the audience, what we want to say is, hey, if you're someone who wants better results, competing every day is essentially the mentality you need in your life, your business, whatever. Depending on what you want, we're going to show you how. And so like now, I mean, even a few months ago is different, but now you go to our website. It's like, hey, I want to build my mindset, or I want to build my closet. Right out of the gate, we're going to send you in one of two directions for that reason, that we're like, hey, this is who we're for. And at the same time, this is who we're not for. And that's 100% okay. But we want to be more clear so it's not muddy at all. And to your point, having those different buckets allowed us, hey, if at some point, because my next book is not going to be called Compete Every Day, since I already did one. If we ever got to the point that, we sold the brand, we still had other areas and opportunities to continue to grow and do the work without it.
Exactly, which touches on the fact you do have your own name and your own brand. And I think you're doing a good job from the visual branding. You've brought them both together, so it's recognizable. If all of you guys go to his website, it's jkthompson.com. He also has a free offer for you. We'll talk to you right now, but it's jkthompson.com/scorecard. And it's a free habit tracker he's giving all of you, which is so generous and awesome. And I'm definitely into habits. But and then you go to Compete Every Day. So you're protecting yourself, because at the top really is you for your life. And if you have partnerships or this Compete Every Day, but yeah, if you sold that other piece for billions of dollars one day soon, then, you'd still have the speaking, because everyone's going to want to talk to you. How did you build this brand? So it's a protective thing. And I love that you just naturally brought it up. It's wisdom that people need.
And you think a lot of people do that. And my coach was phenomenal at advising me of, at some point you go from obviously everybody starts in the business, and then you get to the point where you start working on the business. And as you grow, eventually you have to adopt the mentality of, I'm the founder / celebrity owner of the brand. I mean, you think about with Ryan Reynolds with Aviation Gen, or Wrexham Soccer, Andy Frisella with First Form. I mean, all of these people, like, they are the founder, and you still so much. I mean, I will always connect certain celebrities or individuals to the brand that they started, even if they don't do anything in the day-to-day. They eventually branched out with their own personal brand. So there's always going to be that connection, but it's helpful for entrepreneurs to understand that, because you are not the brand you built. You are not your business. And at some point, if you sell that and somebody acquires you, the worry is your identity is going to be so wrapped up that you become lost. And I've seen this of guys that step out, they say, hey, I'm actually not the best fit to be a CEO of this organization at this level. And so they step away and they have no identity because they never built themselves up along the way.
Right.
And they struggle. And so for those listening that are building it, it's just as important to establish who you are separate from what you do, so that when you do succeed in what you do, who you are is still there.
That's so important. I mean, it's important in life. It's even important in a marriage and as a parent. I have 4 kids alone here right now. My husband's in the Air Force job right now. And I was thinking about it. He hears a lot of this even in the military, right? Where like when they get out of the military, they haven't really identified like themselves as individuals. And this is where I do think it's so imperative that, I struggled with this. I grew up to be very a codependent person. I was like the people pleaser. And I was told like, essentially you don't get boundaries and you don't get to like have your thing. So I had these big dreams and stuff, but I kept like delaying things. And I believe I can always get further. I think like God can always speed things up. I can speed things up. So it's not victim, but it's an awareness to understand like the past and how we can overcome things. But I will say, and you've mentioned your coach, I have to always say, like, I believe in coaches or therapy or combinations,
Both,
courses, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't have done it without the help that I have gotten. And I at least had the wisdom enough to figure out how to pay for things to get ahead. Cause I know I didn't want to keep getting that same cycle, whatever that is.
100%. Like the best things I always tell people you can invest in, like I never shy away from is mindset. So what can I do from a coach, therapist, book standpoint? Always going to invest in my health and relationships, like experiences and things like that. And so coaches help you speed up your success because they've walked it and they can, 1, hold you accountable, but 2, give you wisdom. Therapist is going to help you get more awareness around yourself and work through those things holding you back. And so those in combination allow you really a competitive advantage to speed up your path to growing your business and success. Because for a lot of us, we get in our own way.
Yeah.
And the reason we haven't gotten to that next level is us and not outside circumstances.
Yeah. I mean, so I have a few tattoos, but one of them, I'll take off my iWatch. I got this a few years ago. Once again, I was working on everything and I kept writing like 0 with an X through it, which stood for, I heard it at this event, like 0 excuses, 0 complaining, explaining. I've added to the list, justifying, blaming, these ings that we do to keep ourselves, and then living at 100% each day. Cause some days are different, right? Or even some workouts, but we can go do that. So I have it tattooed and it's 0/100. And that's what it stands for. And I was serious about it. And when I look at it and I'm like, am I living like this right now? Whether it's the gym, a relationship, myself. So I'm into it.
Love it. I love it. No. And those like little reminders like that. And obviously if you're listening, you don't have to get it tattooed, but like having something on your desk or your computer and your car to where it's constantly jogging. Am I living in alignment with the values that I've set for my life? And that's really important because as we grow businesses, we have tougher and tougher decisions to make. And if we don't have a clear picture of who we want to be, what our values are, those decisions become really hard because you don't know when you get out of alignment if you don't have anything to align with. And so identifying, even now, if you've gotten to the point where you're already 7, 8 figures, but you're like, I don't know what my core values are, like sitting down and writing them out of like, I tell everybody brainstorm like 20 things and then cut it down to where there's like 4 to 5 and think of like what that means. So like for me, expansion is one of mine of how am I constantly expanding my knowledge from learning, my comfort zone from doing uncomfortable things like workouts or putting myself in a position to chase something that is beyond my comfort zone. And then experiences. How am I traveling the world, meeting new people, creating experiences? That's what I see as expansion as a core value for me. And so if there's something that is like, oh, I don't know about that, I'm super uncomfortable, I'm scared. Would this be living my core value to do it? It's going to expand me. Yes, let's go do it. It makes those decisions easier in life.
It does. I love that you said that. I didn't hear that till years ago. Like I'd been in business a long time because I started so young, but because I started so young and it was also before YouTube even, right? Like I was right on that precipice. I think like all that came around when I was 24, 25. And core values, your mission and all that, like take a day, take 24 hours. And even if it's not perfect the first time, like listen to what Jake is saying. And we're saying like, write it down today. I'd be writing this down if I was watching this. Write down my core values. If you're not sure what that means, Google it, right? Like, so sometimes we're like, well, I don't really know what that means. So put that away. Like, but we need to learn to hear something. If you hear something, you're not doing it and you're listening to two people who are further along than you, write that down. It's a clue.
Yep.
That's a clue.
Yeah.
Right
Like,
there,
don't
core
make it
values.
harder on yourself.
Yeah.
Because there's people just like us that
That's
want to help, but
Yeah.
there's so many people that hear it and don't act on it. And
Yep.
so just by taking action on it,
Yeah.
you put yourself in a way, way better position.
I would say taking action on anything is just like, let's kill perfectionism. Like it's just what is perfect. It's just like, do the things. Sometimes I tell my clients, like, cause I build them funnels, some of my VIPs, and they resend me videos. Like, well, I need to do it one more time. I said, listen, I don't want you to redo it one more time. I need you just to send it to me as is, and then there's the ones who won't go do it because they get frozen. How would you suggest, like, what's one of your best tips to overcoming that freeze that some people go through, or have you ever dealt with that?
Yeah, a couple of things. So we get in the freeze because we think it's got to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And what we fail to realize is you don't make progress until you get going. Like nobody ever got better standing at the starting.
Right.
Get better by doing something. And so to your point, sending the funnel.
Yeah.
And then making it better. Like I give keynotes every month, every year. I still finish the keynote and think, what do I want to improve on that?
Totally. Every single time.
Yeah. How do I make it a little bit better? So you constantly are going to have this idea of it, but when you're waiting to be perfect, you end up wasting your opportunities when you could be using that to get better, because every one of us listening has probably had something that we knew we should have started 6 months ago, but we didn't do it because we didn't feel confident or that it was going to be perfect. And here we are 6 months later, having missed 6 months of progress and growth we could have had. And so that's the biggest one. The second one I always say is just start small. Like you may have an elephant-sized goal, but you eat elephants the same way you do a donut, right? One bite at a time.
Bite at a time.
Teeny tiny bite. It takes more bites to eat an elephant than a donut, but it's still one small bite. And so if you were to ask yourself, what's one small thing I can do today to start moving in that direction? What is it? And then you do it. And tomorrow you do something else. And that's how it starts to stack to where 6 months from now, people look up and think, oh my gosh, you did all that. Yeah, just 5 minutes a day.
Yeah. This has been just so rewarding. I know we have a few minutes left because we're trying to keep it to that concise place for everybody. I just don't even. Okay, the thing that I guess I would say would be like giving them some action steps. So one is, we want to say again, jakeathompson.com/scorecard. And I'll make sure this is on the podcast link, the YouTube, and in my email. But for audio people, right? Like take that moment, press pause, or go in and download this amazing gift he's giving you to help you start to really a competitor's edge, right?
Yeah. So really what it does is gamify how we build habits, because most of us, we're operating every day off of a to-do list that's probably 30, 40, 100 things long. And when we do that, we don't ever step back and say, am I doing the right things and are they in the right order?
That's right.
And so what the scorecard does is it gives you 6 things, usually 3 to 4 work, 2 to 3 personal, that if you did every single day would set you up for success. Things in your control, like personal standpoint. Am I reading for 10 minutes a day? Am I moving or drinking a gallon of water? On the work side, hey, am I making a post on social media today? Am I making an outbound sales call if that's my role? Like, what are the things in your control? Then it also allows you to put 3 priorities for the day. And we call these kind of the 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but essentially it's, instead of the 100 things that you quote unquote should get done today, what are the 3 most important? And then every day you measure yourself. Did I get the 5 to 6 habits? Did I get the 3 priorities? Because if I do that, every single day I'm going to be successful. I'm not going to reach all my goals in a week. It may not be longer, but it always keeps me moving forward. And so that's the whole point of the scorecard, because a lot of us try to keep it in our head and we try to remember it. And when it's on a piece of paper,
Mhm.
visually in front of you, it stands out so much more
Yes.
than anything else. And you can see yourself building momentum for the day that inevitably comes that you think, I'm just not as successful as so-and-so. I'm not as far as
Yeah.
along as I should be. I haven't made any progress. You
Mhm.
have visual evidence that says, no,
Yeah.
actually, here's what you've done for the last
Yeah.
2 months. And here's where you are. Keep going after the goal you want.
That is so important. I actually made a planner that has some cool stuff. I want to talk to you after this. Very
Yeah.
similar but different. And I'm a huge fan. I write down all my stuff. It's up here. I have a written planner. I do my digital thing for Zoom
Yeah.
and connecting with clients and friends. But the writing down, and there's been so many studies about how it's something your subconscious starts to work harder for you because, pen and paper were around way before computers. And there's
Yep.
something about that connection, physical connection to this that helps us get it done. So if you've taken the workout and you've like made a scorecard, and have you heard this stat? And I do not know where I read it, but it is actually a stat. And once I find it again, but it was essentially like, the amount of time it takes to learn something new is it's either 9 to 10 repetitions between that, depending on the person, unless it's in play. And then it's like 1 to 2. It like
Yeah.
cuts
So
it
I
down.
haven't heard, I don't know the specific, but I
Yeah.
have heard that same thing, like
Yeah.
play speeds it up.
Yes. Yes. And so
Why do you
I
think
love
that? I mean,
that
as kids, we play, right?
exactly. And they're smiling more and they're enthusiastic more and they're learning. Look at all they have to learn. I even teach clients too. I'm like about time blocking. I'm like, okay, yeah, you can't get it all done. So set 1 hour timer. And just like in school back in the day when the bell went off, turn it off and go to the next
Yep.
activity. At least you did it. So I love
100%.
that. This
To
has
your
been
point,
so
the zero crossed through it. Like it's 10 minutes, 5 minutes of working on your goal is better than the zero.
It is better than the 0. Yeah. You can give 100% for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I mean, at least at that point, you every day know, okay, I moved. It wasn't as much as I wanted to, and I would
Yeah,
love to have gotten more in, but
100%.
today I moved closer.
Have you heard this quote by Jim Rohn? It's that you don't judge the day by the harvest that you reap, but by the seeds you plant.
I
And
haven't
that
heard
brings
it, but I love it.
Isn't that amazing? I had that on my vision board, just like it's a vision board, but all the little notes for so long. And because it comforts me. I don't know, but I think I can sense you from all the way you talk. You're like, it's all over it. I wish it could be better. I'm like, me too about everything. But I've just learned, like, even if I don't hit the goal, actually, let me do something really quick. I'm going to mess up my camera. But okay, I was going to put that board over there. That's your
Yep.
poster, but also that's my tracker. So I put my monthly like income tracker there, like to fill it in every month. And I will tell you, most months I do not hit it because I set it pretty high. You know what I mean?
Good.
But I can like comfort myself, even if I don't hit it, that I'm further than if I had lowered my goal always.
Yeah.
And then it's like a magical moment. Sometimes I go over it and it's just like amazing. But
Well, not only that, it probably keeps you focused on those days you feel like, I'm going to do something else, of like, no, like, here's where we are.
exactly.
Like I have a client, we did that. One of the things I had him do was create bucket experiences. So for the next decade, what's one thing you want to do every year? Like, where do you want to go?
Yep.
So you have things to look forward to.
Exactly.
And her family was setting aside one that they were going to do in a year.
Nice.
And she literally said they put it on the board of what it was.
Yep.
And her husband was going to buy some like gym shoes or something. And he ended up not buying them. And she was like, why? He's like, well, you know, when I thought about it, I've already got a couple of pair and I'd rather the $150 go toward that. And I was like, when are you going to put a thermometer on the fridge that shows how much you budgeted and are saving for it?
Yeah.
She's like, oh, because when we see it,
That's
we're
right.
more motivated.
That's right. So whether it's the to-do list, I also, because I'm on like a big scaling thing, I don't even usually do this. I'm taking some of the most pressing to-dos and it's right under my computer and I hate it because I don't like things out, but it makes me get it because I get like click it over there. So yeah, seeing these things, writing it down, celebrating yourself. You know, I just love it. And like I was telling everybody at the beginning, like it's so exciting to get to talk to you because we haven't got to have these conversations. So it's just like, isn't it amazing how success leaves clues comes to mind? One thing I've learned through time, 6, 7, 8 figure earners that I've followed, mentored under, become is we all kind of talk, and athletes too, right? These people of excellence, these people of mastery at that 1% level, there are so many crossovers. It doesn't matter whether it's music or athletes or marketing or sales. There's this level up here, and it's similar, the habits. Wouldn't you say? What do you think
Yeah.
about?
No, success 100% leaves clues. And a lot of us, we overcomplicate it as if it's a mythical land that some
Yeah.
people get lucky and some people
Yeah.
don't. And luck happens. People win the lottery. It
Yeah.
happens. However, banking on your success
Yeah.
is not that. It's actually to follow the clues of others. And it's not, it's simple steps,
Mhm.
but it's simple doesn't mean easy. And I
That's
think
exactly
that's where
right.
the separation is if you become somebody who stays curious,
Mhm.
but not only is curious, applies it,
Yes.
that's where you start to separate yourself over the long run when you stop worrying about how quote unquote fast everybody else is succeeding.
Yeah.
When you sit and listen to people like you and learn from you and put it into practice, play the long game, you really have a chance to be successful because all the information you need is out there. The whole thing is just applying it.
Yep. 100%. Okay, before we go on, I give them all your links again, and just thank you so. I mean, I hope everyone, like, this was gold. Like, seriously, I have so many quotables for you, and I'm gonna make them into some fun images. But if you could give like your best piece, it could be about mastery, it could be about business, it could be about wisdom that like you would want to tell your younger self, your 20-year-old self, or whatever your best clients are, like you wish you had known it earlier. What would it be?
Yeah, I would go back to something we said earlier. I would tell my younger self, quit chasing popularity,
Mhm.
quit going after things that stroke your ego and just focus on progress.
Yeah.
Because it's funny when you try to be perfect and you try to be popular, you don't take risk, you don't get better because you don't ever want to be seen as someone who struggles, who's
That's right.
working through it, who's going slow. But when you flip that and just say, how do I get better today?
Yeah.
Over time, you eventually get to the point where you're really good at something and really good people become really successful. And the funny part about people that are successful is everyone wants to know how you did it. So
Yeah.
the popularity and the prestige and everything that people chase
Yeah.
without taking risks that they end up regretting, that's found when you just simply commit to getting better and making progress. And so that's what I wish my 20-year-old self would have known. That was so much about protect the ego, that for anybody listening, whether you're at day 1 or day 1,000 or day 10,000 of your business, focus simply on what am I doing today to get better? Don't worry about the perfection. Don't worry about the popularity. If you do good work will speak for you.
That's brilliant. You are a genius. I'm so grateful for you. I'm grateful for your brand. I mean, that has to do love the work, right? And so if all of you want to learn more, which of course you should, if you're a good person, I don't say should lightly because I don't believe in shoulds. But if you watch this, then you definitely should do this. So jkthompson.com/scorecard for your free offer from him, your free gift. You can gamify your habits and create progress. And then also compete every day if you want cool shirts like ours, right? You want to look in the mirror in the gym, you want to walk by, you're like, yeah, love the work. Then you got to like pump yourself up a little bit more, right?
Hey,
And
psychology says what you wear influences how you perform. And
I
so there's a
believe it.
reason everybody puts on certain clothes for
Yeah,
dates, job interviews,
right.
meetings. It's because it boosts our performance. So all of our gear is really designed around that. Like those days you don't want to go do the work, see
Yeah.
that love the work, you're like, no.
Yeah.
There's days I don't love, you don't like your spouse, but you love them. You show
Yeah.
up, you serve them. And so
Yeah.
those are the same things.
That's so true. It is. It's like the things you're choosing to invest in yourself. If you have a spiritual relationship, your kids, even the dogs, right? My dog just chewed up her brand new $80 bed yesterday and right during church, right? So like, these things that we face and then figuring it out. It's the little things. And so thank you so much, Jake, for being here, for being so generous, just giving of your heart. And I can't wait to keep staying in touch with you.
I appreciate the opportunity to come on the show and connect with everybody.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Thank you so much. And Jake, I'm going to press stop on the recording, but let's chat for just a couple minutes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Let me press stop on Facebook. Let's see, and then I'll stop the recording.